Hi, it's Nicola Bird here from alittlepeaceofmind.co.uk. I wanted to create this video because one of the most often asked questions that I get is, so how long is this going to take before it works? Right? I've been in this conversation for a year now and I'm still not able to do some things I'd like to do. I've been in this conversation for 3 weeks and I'm still panicking. What's going on? I've been in this conversation for 6 months and I should be somewhere different than I am right now. So I wanted to create a video about that. How long does it take? That's what I'll call this video. So let me share with you a few stories, right? Linda Pransky shared with me once that it took her over 2 years to be able to hear anything that her mentor, Sydney Banks, was saying, because she didn't know how to listen. So she was sitting, listening to Sid, processing through her own mind, like, well, what do I think about that? Do I agree with that? Is that like something else I know? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for my relationship? What does that mean for my work? What does that mean for... And she was listening in the way that we all kind of are trained, if you like, to listen through the filter of our own minds, through the filter of our own thinking. And as a result, it was very hard for her to be impacted. And when she learned about listening, she learned to not do that, right? To let that, not to listen with as little on her mind as possible. To listen like a blank space. My mentor, Michael Neal, sometimes talks about listening like a rock with ears. Just listening. And that, for many of us, is, I see, the reason why some of us get impacted straight away and some of us take longer to hear. I was not a good listener. My mind was revving so fast. I was like, well, how am I going to teach this? How am I going to teach this? How is this going to impact on my kids? How's this going to impact on my business? How's this going to impact on my health? How's this going to impact on... And I was listening with all of that going on in my mind the whole time. I was listening to ask the next question. I was listening with my yeah buts, constantly answering every point that was made. I was listening with, I don't understand what you're saying, like as a filter in front of everything. I was listening through a veil of frustrated thought because I wasn't getting it. I was listening through a when am I going to get it? 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 Maybe this time I'll get it. Maybe this time. Why are they all getting it? Why aren't I getting it? I was listening through a veil of that. And I don't realize how unhelpful that was. And at some point, and I will tell you, so my kind of time scale, people say, well, how long did it take for you, Nick? I will tell you. I bumped into this conversation because I wanted to see something different about career, right? I had a big wake-up call where I made the target number I'd always wanted to in my software business, and there was nothing there for me. And there was no, woohoo, I've made it. Now I can be content forever, which I kind of had thought that would be there. And the thought that came to mind when I had that experience was like, oh, I need to find a new job. I need to find a new career. I need to find a new path. So when I bumped into this conversation, I had the question that was on my mind is like, what shall I do? What shall I do? What shall I do? What shall I do? And that's what was at the front of my mind all the time while I was working with my mentors. Yeah, okay. So what shall I do for my next job? What shall I do? What shall I do? What shall I do? And everything I was listening to was through that filter. Oh, so what does that mean I should do? Oh, maybe I should do this. Or maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do this. And it was all through that filter. I had given up on seeing anything new about my anxiety. Right? I wasn't asking questions about, so how does this help with panic attacks? How does this help with physical symptoms? How does this help with... I wasn't listening through that filter at all. And as a result, within about 10 weeks of bumping into this conversation, I was booking tickets to take my daughter to Disneyland in Paris. I was not experiencing worry about migraines. I was flying to LA to go and work with Michael. I was There was shifts and changing happening in my level of anxiety without me paying any attention to it, because I was not focused on that as an outcome. Now, I'll tell you the things that I really cared about, right? So probably about 10 or 12 weeks, right, before anything kind of filtered through, and I had a very busy mind. Now, what I will say is the question that I really wanted to get answered, what shall I do? 3 years I sat with that question, 3 years of painful thinking, of really struggling and suffering. And it might not sound like much to you, but I was literally, it would drive me to tears because I could not find the answer to it. I couldn't find the answer to the question. Every coach, every conversation with a friend, every conversation with my husband was all about this one topic. I was obsessed with it. That's what I was listening for an answer to. And it took 3 years for me to have an insight on that. That was totally surprising, shocking, and not in the direction I was expecting. I'll create another video about that one at some point. What else do I really care about? My kids. 4 years. 4 years before I had any insights about my parenting and being with my kids. And I'll tell you, that's the most important area of my whole life. And 4 years before I saw anything there. And then the one that I'd always kind of secretly wanted from the beginning was like, I'd love to see something new about health and exercise and food and weight loss. And I hear about these people who have these insights and then everything changes and their lives all get healthier. And that's like, I want one of those, right? That was always on my back burner, on my wish list for insights I'd love to have. 5 years for me to see anything about that. It's not a race. The more we have on seeing something in a particular area, you can guarantee that will be the one area that it takes us longer to see in. Now, what you might notice is if you are coming through any of my programs, if you're just listening to my podcast, if you're just watching my videos, and your thing is anxiety, I would love you to just reflect for a moment and see, if you're sitting there thinking, nothing's shifted around my anxiety, right? I would love you to just reflect on other areas of your life and see, but hang on, my husband's looking sexier. Or hang on, my kids seem to be behaving better. Or hang on, I seem to have started this new hobby that I didn't even know was there, and I seem to be being all creative. And that's not me at all. If you reflect on it, there are areas you don't have so much on that kind of shift and change in the background without you focusing on them. Now, your anxiety or your weight or your health or whatever you've got a lot of thinking about, it's just, you're listening for something in that area, and that's what makes it so hard to hear. So here's the reason I'm not concerned. If you are listening, but you still like, why have I still got these symptoms? Right? You're just where I was. Like, why don't I still know what I want to do for a job? It's like, you're just in suffering and struggling. But there's something in this conversation, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video, that still, there's something here. You know that seeing something new, having a shift in consciousness about this is going to be helpful in some way. That's why you're still here. That's the knowing that you have. And if you just keep listening, I know that can sound frustrating. If you just keep listening, you will see more and more, and you'll see deeper and deeper, and you'll see more and more truth. And that this is a never-ending conversation, that direction is way more important than speed, that the idea that you should be somewhere other than you are and you want to get an insight on this thing faster, I totally get, and is all a symptom of an anxious mind, anxious, insecure mind. It's more bullshit thought the system is spitting out from an anxious state. That the insights you get are delivered when you need them, not when you think you need them. I thought I needed the answer to what shall I do next about 3 weeks after I had the question. In fact, 20 minutes after I had the question, prepared to wait about 3 weeks, would have been my arbitrary rule of how long I should wait to get the answer to that question. 3 years. And yet when you look back in hindsight, you see how things unfolded. You see the perfection in it. You see why you never saw it until then. You see how you were getting in your own way, which teaches you something more about how the system works. You see the insight at the perfect, you get that insights at the perfect moment, not when you want them. Now, the more I understand that, and as my journey progresses, I just see the truth in that. I can let go of, I know there are areas that I will continue to struggle in my life until I see something about them, but not my job to get an insight. My job is when I feel drawn to put myself in front of Sid Banks or another teacher or a mentor, or go listen to something, or go out in life and be open to insight. That's my job. When, where and how and in what form those get delivered, not my job, not your job. So you don't have to keep thinking about, well, are we there yet? Has it happened yet? How long is it going to be? Because you don't need the answer to that question. You just think you do. So I hope this has given you some food for thought. I hope this has given you some comfort if you're in the, how long is it going to take? Where's my insight? Right? If you're in that frame of mind, then to know I totally get you, and to know that it's so familiar to a lot of people on this journey, and that it's all okay and it's all been taken care of. So let me know what you think of this video, and I'll be back with you another one shortly.